Intuition, the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. What is that? What is that? There's a depth of profound inner knowledge within you waiting to be accessed. But it's not the kind of surface level how-to information that we're used to. It's intuitive, and it requires some listening to be done, a different type of listening. In the 1970s, a young Steve Jobs went on a trip to India in hopes to find his guru. Okay? He was interested in enlightenment, spirituality, and he wanted to go deeper on that. His interest in the divine always ran deep. After spending months in Indian villages, he became fascinated with their way of being. He noted a vast difference of how people lived in comparison to the Western world, to the United States. There was this wide discrepancy between rational and intuitive thinking. And upon arriving back to the United States, he was shocked by this strong pull towards rational thought, for there needing to be a reason for everything, needing to justify every action. Quote, "The people in the Indian countryside don't use their intellect like we do. They use their intuition instead. And their intuition is far more developed than in the rest of the world." Unquote. Steve Jobs. That's an interesting quote. So what does that mean? Intellectual knowledge versus intuitive knowledge. Their intuition is far more developed than the rest of the world. Through all of his work, Steve Jobs credited his intuitive knowledge as being more powerful than his intellectual knowledge. Another question, what is that? Right? Okay. He referred to intuition as a sacred gift. So the questions arise here. How do we develop our intuitive knowledge? How do we strengthen our connection with intuition? And here's another quote. "If you just sit and observe, you will see how restless your mind is. If you try to calm it, it only makes it worse. But over time it does calm. And when it does, there's room to hear more subtle things." Unquote. From Steve Jobs. And that's my experience as well. The first step to deepening your connection with your intuition, is quieting the mind. That's the first step. Because in doing that, there's a recognition, there's a discrepancy, a distinction that comes up between the mind, reason, and intuition. That connection to source. That connection to feeling. There's a certain knowledge there, which, of course, saying all this, it's something that words don't do it justice, right? It's a type of feeling. It's a type of inner guidance. And I find it really interesting how we want to think that this is exclusive to great inventors or creators, creative people, right? I'm not that person. Everybody has this. Everybody has this. But that first task is to quiet the mind. And I've talked about this in other videos, but we go into practices like meditation, practicing more silence, non-distraction. And in doing that, when you start to quiet the mind a little bit, there's something that happens. You get a deeper connection to feeling and that inner guidance, that intuitive pull towards things. And there's something to be explored there. And if you look across history as well, other creative people, inventors, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Nikola Tesla, there's always a reference to this thing. This divine thing where it's almost as if there's more credit given to this sacred gift, this intuitive knowledge, this intuition, the creative process. There's more credit given there than them giving to themselves. And if you've ever got into the creative process, you'll experience this for yourself too, where you'll be working on something, you'll be writing, you'll be making a video, you'll be having a conversation. And there's the flow state, there's the creative process, where it's this connection and it feels like you're being fed this information that's just happening. And it feels like you can't really take credit for it because it's just happening. The thinking, you're not thinking, it's flow state. So it really makes you question, what is that? And everyone has that. Everyone has that ability.